Honey Badger Army. I hope you're all well, guys. Welcome to today's show. Yes, this is the first official vlog of the new format. So thank you very much everyone that's been taking part, commenting and giving advice. Thanks very much, guys. Right, today we're going to talk about Marvel's effect on Hollywood and the film industry. So this one is a bit of a doozy, but it's an interesting one. Now, in the 80s and 90s and even the 70s, we got Spider-Man films, we got Blade films, Captain America films, all these different ones. But they didn't quite cut the mustard. Effects weren't there, the acting quite wasn't there. But, you know, with Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., and of course Wesley Snipes' Blade, and a few others, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they set the way for what I might say is a world overtaking, world domineering, Disney now led extravaganza. Every film nearly makes millions. Every film is gossiped about all over the internet. Every film is there, bombarded, spoilers, TV spots, films, TV shows, extra, which is fantastic if you're a fan. It really is fantastic. And of course, with the success of Spider-Man No Way Home, it is OP. It is everywhere. And that is great. I'm a Spider-Man fan. Badger Jr. is a Spider-Man fan. Loads of people we know are Spider-Man fans. I love it. I especially love all the symbiotes and all the spooky side of Spider-Man. Now, and Badger Jr. loves all the overtop villains and geeky fun. But, you know, what is this gonna do to Hollywood in the long run? Well, I'll tell you what might happen to the Marvel films. And I've said this a while ago, even about 3 or 4 years ago, in a vlog and a blog, where eventually the bubble's gonna burst. Yeah, these films are making billions and billions of dollars, okay? But what happens when all of a sudden just people get bored? Yeah? It's mad, but it might happen because eventually people want to go and see other films again. It could happen, right? But the problem is, before that happens, Hollywood seems so reliant on what's the next, superhero blockbuster going to be. Eventually, people are going to run out of imagination. It's just going to be dotting the I's, dotting the I's, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. A bit like what happened with Eternals and Black Widow, where it was a bit subpar, but they still made a few quid, so they got away with it. You know, I just think what's going to happen is Hollywood's going to run out of ideas. There's not going to be enough independent, interesting films coming out because everyone's just relying on the basic formula, and it seems like it's the Disney formula now, which is scary and toxic, right? I love Disney, but it's true. And also, you'll find that a lot of actors will say no to different films in aid of going in Marvel. Denzel Washington, all these people are going to be lured into modern Marvel films. And yet, you think, well, wouldn't it be great to see you in something else other than being a superhero? You know, trust me, it would be great to see all these people as superheroes. It's a very back and forth argument with me because I love it, but I know the negative effects. You're going to get actors that turn down really interesting roles just because they can be in Guardians of the Galaxy 5. Or, you know, you're going to get people that don't star in the smaller independent films in aid of being in those. And it's mad. And there's lots of films that I feel won't get made, you know, but because Ghostbusters Afterlife potentially underperformed in Japan, does that mean that we won't get a Ghostbusters 5 or 4 or whatever canonically it is? Which is a shame because Ghostbusters Afterlife is an absolute slapping film. It's awesome. It is fantastic. So if they don't make a Ghostbusters 4 or 5, or whichever one it is, I'll be really annoyed, because it's fantastic. They really need to do it. And that's the thing. Does it mean that every film now has to be a massive blockbuster in order to be, seen as a hit? That's the thing, isn't it? Does everything need to be old school Gone with the Wind proportions? Does everyone need masses and masses of money coming in for it to mean anything? Or, is that where we're going with this? There must be a middle ground. What about films like The Electrical Life of Louis Wayne, which is an independent film, which is fantastic, which came out at the same time, pretty much as Spider-Man, that's been overlooked, except by a few. Me, I managed to go and see it. Big shout out to the boss for that. Does that mean that smaller films won't get made? Because in aid of big blockbusters, for every film that gets greenlit and made, probably there's 5 or 6 ideas that get chucked in the bin. And that's the problem, isn't it? We're going to see less interesting ideas. We're going to see less fun ideas, individual ideas that could have been great, and they're going to be chucked out of the way just so we can see Spider-Man for whipping everywhere around New York. And that is a shame and a good thing. At the same time, I'm very conflicted. So yeah, I don't know. All I'll say is that if it overtakes too much, we're going to miss out on lots of gems that we could have had. And does it mean that everything is now going to be led on, oh, this didn't make as much money as Spider-Man? Morbius has now been put back because of the fact that it may underperform compared to Spider-Man No Way Home. And lots of other films will probably be put back too, because they're waiting for that to make, its way in and out of the cinema and onto DVD and etc. Also a thought that I might have with this is that, what's going to happen to the small cinemas? Ben Affleck has recently said that he thinks that only big cinemas are going to exist now, and that smaller cinemas are going to go for the wayside, and it's going to be the big cinemas only playing big films. And that is a real shame. I want my pokey little cinema in Brighton seafront where I have to sit on a church chair, thanks. And I want to have to watch all those sort of things where I was like, oh, this hurts my back. But it's lovely, isn't it? That's the thing. I want to see those small little cinemas that are in community centres and things like that still survive. I don't just want the views and all these big chains like the Odeon. I want the smaller cinemas to survive, where they can put small little films on and have lots of little fun. So that's the thing. There's lots of different negatives to these things. I mean, don't get me wrong, the actors are going to get a great paycheck. It's fantastic to see Andrew Garfield come back to the cinema as Spider-Man, and of course Tobey Maguire. That might not have happened unless Sony came up with a big idea and a big load of cash. But wouldn't it have been good to see Tobey Maguire in something else, or Andrew Garfield in other films as well? And this is the thing. We need to find a balance between these things. I want to see really interesting films come out, and I want to see new actors flourish. But how are we going to see that if all they're ever doing is picking up all these big stars? There has to be a middle ground with this stuff. And, of course, it'd be really interesting for people to go and see other films as well. Eventually, the bubble's going to burst if there's no choice. If you go to the cinema and all you've got is superhero films on, what choice are you going to have? It's just going to be bland by the end of it. The excitement's going to go if all you've got is the same thing. And that's a scary thought, isn't it? Because it's gone from being exciting and individual and landmark and special event to, well, this is vanilla and where's my chocolate? So, if you get what I mean, eventually we're going to outprice ourselves in the market. The bubble's going to burst, and all we're going to have is a load of superhero films out and no other choices. And like I said, where is all the money going to go when it all flops? Who knows? And also, what's going to happen if they can't finish all the stories and we end up with a really annoying cliffhanger? That happens all the time in Hollywood, where sequels don't get greenlit and all that sort of thing. And that's another thing. all these films that haven't been made that should have been, I want them. I want these interesting, quirky little films. So it's great that Marvel and Disney and all that sort of stuff have become this powerhouse. But there's got to be a tiny little bit of room somewhere for the consumer to go and see other stuff. And I really hope people wise up and go to see all these smaller films as well. Because otherwise, all we're going to be left with is the same stuff. I'm going to be doing a review on the electrical life of Louis Wayne very soon. And I hope you guys are going to enjoy that. And we're going to talk all about independent cinema as well. Now, let me know your thoughts on what you think Marvel has done to Hollywood on this channel. And let me know, obviously, any comments below. Thanks very much for watching. And I did film this at 4 AM. So if I've missed anything, please tell me below. And if I've been waffling too much, which I guess I have, tell me below too. Right, thanks very much for watching, guys, and let me know your thoughts on my opinions. Thanks very much for watching, guys. See you next time. Bye.
Mr. Slender, yes, bring me a dream.
Bum, bum, bum.
Do 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 that I've ever seen.
Bum, 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 bum.
Please, your magic dream. Mr. Slendy, bring me a dream. Bum 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 bum.